we mentioned earlier that the upstream project supply chain management, uh, of course, when you go beyond the logistics, there's always this procurement, and the 5PL service function is also to touch upon the procurement side to provide the service assistances. So where and how would that be immediately relevant? And here's, I guess, one case in point, which is at one of the major projects, a leading owner operator, an integrated one, which is actually big for the corporate size, but not so big on the in-house logistic function capacity and capability. There was a question involving charter, and the in-house logistician actually suggested to contact their quote unquote in-house expertise on chartering. Well, in this case, that in-house expertise that was regarded as the center of expertise of this company was actually all about product shipping, which means, natural gas or crude oil or product oil, whatever the case may be. They were the tanker charter and post-fixture operations. So that kind of expertise actually have absolutely nothing to do with the project inbound material logistic. Why? Because it's although they're both chartering, but one thing absolutely have nothing in common with the other. When you deal with tanker charter, the charter part is a lot more simplified. You don't really negotiate much. You go by what this thing called world scale, up and down a little bit. And if there's any negotiation, it's all about the rate. Of course, there's also here and there a little bit term negotiation as well, but that comparing to the break bulk charter, which is a whole lot more complicated. You always have to negotiate all the terms and conditions in the main clauses and in the rider clauses. Basically, in the country like United States, there are not really that many qualified heavy lift break bulk charter brokers, let alone on the owner side. Mostly they're located in New York, New Jersey area, a couple of them, or more than a couple of them in LA, a couple of them more than LA, located in Houston, which is primarily the project cargo capital of United States. So anyway, the long story short, heavy lift break bulk is what is always needed for capital project logistic. So when you have the outbound product distribution logistics, which heavily have their expertise centered on the marine part or maritime part, on the tanker charter, those guys are not experts for the heavy lift break bulk charter. And the complication is not just about the charter party handling, but also the post fixture operations actually is also very sophisticated compared to the charter of tankers. Why? Because when you are dealing with heavy lift, you're talking about the ship gears, the deck layouts, and the basically the heavy lift handling, the plan, the drawing. There's a whole lot of procedure that requires absolute experience to be able to actually assess the risks and nevertheless the countermeasure. And because these days most of the ports, the main international seaports, are used to the container operations. So the break bulk handling, even for the stevedores, are becoming somewhat dying species, if you will. So in many cases, the really good port captains were dispatched to even to go to coach, if not training from the beginning of the stevedores at certain seaports, and that is not like unheard of. So in any case, all this need to be built into the planning considerations, and that is where and how 5PL actually could get all this into a very advanced knowledge body, going beyond just a couple of individuals' intuitive knowledge accumulation. So anyway, the charter parties, the negotiating of the charter parties, of course, and the post-fixture operations, all that should be a big part of the 5PL knowledge body.